A lot of times, the person leading the room or the people in the room, they have no idea what the room is. If you want to ace Clubhouse, just talk about the room. And if you're not a talker and you're a listener, which you should be, ask the speakers about the topic of the room, but in an intelligent way. Hey, I Googled and read 17 things, and wow, lecture 19, ROTJ, CS183E, I read that paper. That was a genius paper. I'm going to repeat that because I would ask me to repeat that if I were young me meeting legendary me. Hey, I see the topic of the room is ROTJ, and I Googled and read lecture 19, CS183E, ROTJ, and what you said in that lecture, in a blog post, that was incredibly genius. So what I'm showing you is I did my homework. And I'm not going to say you never do homework, but I don't think you've not only never done homework, and I'm not talking about the loser kind of homework from school, which you probably actually never did because you haven't even looked at one thing for accounting. Like, I've studied more in accounting from that horrible interaction than you have. And I know more accounting than you. So that's why when I say May 15th, I'll probably have outgrown you. That's true. That's just literally true. Because I've studied more accounting in the time that you and I have been apart than you have, even though you didn't start, which is why most people never start, which is the red pill truth, even in Silicon Valley, which is even if venture capitalists give you money, most people never get dollar number one. So retire on the job. Hey, I saw that lecture. And that was an incredible lecture. Lecture 19, CS183E. I had a clarification question though. What if they find out that you're a pro baseball player while also being a professional CS genius, computer science? Because I'm pretty sure that you didn't Google what CS stood for. What happens if you get fired from either job? It's a valid question, right? I would then say, wow, what do people in the audience think? People in the audience think this person did their homework. Homework is it's not a demoralizing term, but it's such a vague term that could mean six things, which is why sextuple entendre is like my favorite thing. Because if you're negative and you've never done anything in addition to graduate college as a, let's say, 27-year-old, like, you're behind, yet that's okay because you can succeed at any point in time if you did your homework. The people in the room that would hear me ask that question would say, wow, this person, they seem like a worker. They seem like they prep, PQRST prep, previous question review, summary steps. Just like yesterday's room when I was asking Chris, okay? He could tell that I would surpass him if I were to spend 10,000 hours trying to get good at TA, trend analysis, in the nature of his room, which is Bitcoin trading, which I actually don't believe in, but I'm still learning to learn. And if I wanted to learn that, I could, because I had learned previous things. So the entire room would be like, wow, that ROTJ question about even quoting lecture 19, CS183E. Wait a minute, are you two guys friends? Is this like a setup? No, that's what losers ask. And I actually listen for that. losers will say, oh, are you guys friends? Because it seems like you know each other. No, 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 no. It's a similarity and engineered serendipity. Let me repeat that. It is engineered serendipity. They're not best friends, they're mind melded. Just like the Vulcan mind meld, all the Vulcan mind meld is Larry Chang reading your book 17 times. Okay, not just once, not just twice, not just 4 times, okay, in an hour, because I'm good, right? It's not that I have a massive intelligence. It's that I worked at running fast. Okay, Tom Brady, number 567, ranked in quarterbacks, ranked 567. Of the 567 quarterbacks tested, he was dead last. The most red pill truth that I know is maybe you should have studied lecture 19 before coming into this room, okay? And I can speak honestly with you because there's nobody else in the room. So I'm gonna be honest with you. You didn't even Google ROTJ. You didn't even Google Larry Chang. You don't even have a name right now because you know that you don't execute, because after 37 years of non-execution, after 47 years of non-execution, after 57 years of non-execution, you're gonna ask your 27-year-old self, hey, don't even worry about the fact that you didn't execute when you were 17 or 7 or whatever horrendous thing happened to you that's a really good excuse for you not doing anything. Because at 77, well, actually, that's why men actually die early. I just solved why men die early, because they're losers. And women, they've been losers their entire life. Women will not never be winners, but they die every month via their period. So they get to live longer because they're like, you know what, I've been dying my whole life and I'm pretty much a loser, so I'm fine with just living way longer. Men see other men who are winners and they're like, I'm just gonna give up and die. When people give up and die, that's what they do. They give up, they die. Did you prep? Did you do any homework before you entered this room? Because room to room was a test. So why are you now not Googling and putting pen to paper? Like, I don't even need to do an audit, okay? Accounting, pun intended. You talked about accounting when you actually were okay that first interaction. Hey, is AI gonna take over accounting? I gave a great answer that you didn't value. So if Larry Chang Young were to be talking and asking a question in this room, can you clarify lecture 19, ROTJ? Because I took 17 pages of notes, 18 pages. Well, now 19 because I've been listening in the room. And thank you very much for bringing me up to the stage. And after you're done answering this question, go ahead and move me back down. This is exactly what I said yesterday, right? And then when they move me back up, they're gonna make me a moderator. Do you see? You go up, down, up, down. That's how stocks rise, okay? There's volatility, which is why when Bitcoin goes to 25 million, schmucks on Clubhouse are actually gonna manage to go bankrupt. I wanted a clarification question about the name of this room, about the homework that I did, which is what happens if I do this because I'm actually close to doing this, and then the losers in the audience will be like, oh, this is a setup question because they're friends already. No, this is cold, okay? I meant cold opens. What is a cold open? It's when Larry Chang rolls up on a bachelorette party during St. Patrick's Day or the day after St. Patrick's Day and says, hey, I wanted to say hi. Who's the bachelorette here? That's a cold open, okay? And then when she's slurping up my schlong, okay? We didn't have a prior relationship, okay? That was a cold open. But other people are gonna be like, oh, that's just his, they knew each other from college, or he used to teach her at Stanford because I hear he's a professor. Technically, I'm a guest lecturer. Technically, I'm not, I'm that. but an EIR, which is actually lower yet higher, like a tenured professor, because you can't fire an entrepreneur in residence because they're literally an entrepreneur in residence living there. You can't fire. That's just like a tenured professor, which people should have just made me like an adjunct or an associate. You could fire them. You can't fire me, in which case I'll say whatever I want, which is lecture 19, retire on the fucking job. This is how it works. You as a CS major, you need to realize that half, if not 90% of Silicon Valley who has 2 jobs, they're retired at one of them. How are you able to work 2 jobs? Okay, you're not grinding 128 hours at 2 jobs. Okay, because each week you can only work 3,000 hours. Okay, so do the math, right? You're working 20 hours at one job and 40 hours at the other job. Maybe it'll add up to 65, but it usually doesn't, which is why losers will say, gosh, what is your job title? Because you do one job better than 17 people, and your other job, which is Clubhouse to you, because you see Clubhouse as a job, I see it as a tithe, like a complete donation of time with zero return on investment. But that's okay, because sometimes we douchebags, we need a douche tithe, right? Once you realize that in Silicon Valley, and I need to realize that we're not in Silicon Valley, but it adds up to 65 hours. So you retire on the job as your software engineer, as your developer, 25 hours a week, and then 40 hours a week, you play baseball, or 40 hours a week, you're a VC. And remember what a VC is, okay? A VC is a person who goes to 11 to 15 cocktail parties a week. That's their job, okay? So sometimes we do email, but it's pretty much just networking and then going to conferences. And remember, sitting in the Amex Centurion Lounge at SFO for 2 hours, that's actually considered work, okay? Which is why people say tough work, good work if you can get it, okay? Because they're working 40 hours is actually a pretty hard working VC. A lot of VCs work like 15 hours, right? So Retire on the Job, lecture 15 talks about, hey, it's free. It's free to get this knowledge of you work in CS and then you manage and mitigate your time constraints so that way you can have a side hustle as a VC or a side hustle as minor league baseball player. You can side hustle whatever you want. So the original question that I would ask if I were giving this lecture is, hey, you're working 2 jobs, okay? One of them's making $300K and the other one's making $200K. What if you get fired from the $200K job, right? Well, then the answer to that question is when you retired on the job on something that was $50K, did you spend $60K? And let me go over those numbers with you because the devil's in the details. Because if I were asking, I would ask, wait, slow down. You threw out a lot of numbers and I want to work through these because it all breaks down in these details. Here's the problem. What if I already made $50,000 and spent $0? Then the people in the audience would be like, you two already know each other. Like, this sounds like a setup. That's just not the case. They were kind of taught this, or they intuitively knew it, or they were scared that they made $50 million and would have to give it back, so they actually spent zero of the $50 million, which actually happens. It actually is talked about a lot on Billions, where this guy, he's pseudo-Chinese, but his name is Dollar Bill. When he gets a literal $50 million bonus, his boss made fun of him because he's like, why did you only spend $3,000? And why do you still reuse paper towels? So getting back to $50,000, true story, Billions, episode 2, season 1. He gets a huge bonus, and that's Dollar Bill. That's why he's called Dollar Bill. But he's actually called Dollar Bill for 6 different reasons. Let's go back to the $60,000 and the $50,000 and the $200,000. You can't retire on the job at $200,000 if at one point you made 50 and spent 60. Let me repeat that. You can't spend the money that you get from your side hustle. And basically what it is you can't spend money. And the other thing is you can't associate money in with money out, which is what every blue-pilled person is. A blue pill is a person who has literally no clue, okay? They're just programmed from the lowest common denominator. And this is the red pill. This is actually the orange pill, but it's just what it is, which is genius as fuck. The $200,000, if you're gonna get fired, the answer is that's actually okay because you didn't spend the money back when it was at 50. And what it does is it gives you insurance. It gives you a cushion. It gives you an opportunity to establish what's called a base camp. Just like climbing Mount Everest, you don't climb at Mount Everest from 17,000 miles below sea, which is actually what most people are trying to do. They're trying to climb Mount Everest, literally soaking wet, standing in a bay surrounded by freaking turtles because they thought a 9-week vacation to Hawaii would be a good test run for living on an island forever. And they're actually leaving after like 6 weeks because they're like, I have island fever. That's what island fever is. And you're going to try to climb Mount Everest, okay, while your feet are wet? You don't have the right equipment. You climb Mount Everest, okay, from right under Mount Everest. Like, it's totally no big deal. Like, you just get used to no oxygen, and then you just climb Mount Everest from right at the bottom of Mount Everest. That's how you retire on the job and still make 200K, is because you kind of did it at 50 because you were super smart about it, and then you got lucky when you didn't spend the 50, and all of a sudden you got, instead of 2 new customers a year, all of a sudden you're getting 2 new customers a week. Let me repeat that part. You're at 50, at 40, or Larry Chang in a different clubhouse room 7 rooms ago talking about base camp. And wow, hey, getting to 60 was actually possible. Let's fucking blow 70. That's 99% of people, which is why they don't level up. When people say level up, they actually have no idea what level up is. They might know that level up is leveling up in spending. That's really the only level up. So if you're taking notes, write that down. Okay, maybe you've never taken notes before. Maybe you're gonna take crappy notes into your phone, in which case, at least type that in. And if you're only on Insta because you suck, that's okay. Just type in level up. And I'm going to ask you to remember $50,000 that I'm just handing you, because it is this. Don't level up your spending, level up your earning. It is literally that simple, where a lot of people, because people in every clubhouse room, if you need $2,000 to $50,000, I'll hand it to you, because I not only code computer science code, that's what computer science is, okay? It's science and a computer. It's computer science. And that's what code is. And you don't learn 310 million lines of code, okay? You learn one line of code. I used one line of code to make $180 million, and then guess how much of that money I spent, okay? None. Well, not none, but I only spent the future money that I made, but I just banked all of it. Because when I made less money, because that wasn't the first time I made money, right? But people always look and think that, oh, that's how Elon Musk made his first money, and all he does is spend money now. No. Every person who makes money, that wasn't their first money. They were maybe ROTJ, retired on the job. Lecture 19, CS183E. Lecture 19, CS183D. Lecture 19, Engineering 145. Lecture, and on down the list. If you just Google some of those lectures, I DJ'd all the other lectures, but I was like, hey, why is page 172 of a book kind of important? So I went ahead and memorized every page 172 of every book. And now people think that I've memorized every page in every book, and they're like, oh, that Larry Chang, he's just the smartest person I've ever met, and like, he's just great. And they say it kind of negatively, but kind of positively. But I don't care what you think of me. I care what you think of yourself and what your development is. But when you say Larry Chang's the smartest person I've ever met, while that is true, that didn't demoralize the rest of Silicon Valley to be like, God, people think that you're just a tall, pretty boy who parties all the time. You're actually the smartest person I've ever met. But then when they say it, they're actually like, how did you do it? Like, are your parents smart? Do you read super fast? How'd you do that page 172 thing? Like, tell me. That's an educated question. Just like, hey, retire on the job, what happens if I get fired? And I'll come back to that question, to that answer. Hey, tell me about the page 172 thing. Do you see how that dude that asked me that question, or that female that is a billionaire because I facilitated her rise via Engineering 145, do you see how that person is a person who A, has a lot of rapport, B, has mind melded like a Vulcan, okay, C, has a prior body of work, D, pays attention to not only the Larry Chang sitting front row Fashion Week newsfeed story, to, hey, how does stuff really work? Like, do you memorize like every page? Like, are you a savant? Which is Harry hands up in the air holding and praying to a rock that is worthless. Literally the blue pill. Your icon is literally a blue pill of believing that diamonds have value. It's De Beers. Diamonds are zero. That's the blue pill. We're dropping red pill and orange pill knowledge. And there's nothing more orange pill that I know versus retire on the job, how to make 200K. You can see how that person that asked me that question, hey, that page 172 quote during the meeting, like, I was there in the room with you, okay? You didn't have that book in front of you, and to the person on the conference call, you said, let me open up my book to page 172 and let me quote quilting. Let's quilt together ideas of your book, where you quoted their book back to them. How did you do that? Because I was in the room with you. You didn't have, guess what I do? If you are a stupid author, okay, I'm gonna call you stupid, because why would you publish 80 years of knowledge, okay? Wouldn't you keep that to yourself? And because once you publish it, a guy like Larry Chang, he's gonna read that book 17 times, okay, in super fast, and he's gonna have everything that you know. So everything you know, everything you're gonna know, everything you used to know is in that book. So why would you publish it? That's why I read. okay? And if you're dumb and you write down everything, because remember, all arbitrage dies. Let me repeat that. Every $200,000 a year job that you have, okay, it dies. Which brings me back to my own question, since I'm literally talking to myself, which is, hey, Larry, I studied lecture 19, I Googled it, it was really good, Mr. Chang, and thank you so much for coming up with that. But I had a question. So let's say I'm in computer science because I studied computer science at Stanford University, and like at first when I met you, okay, I thought you were crazy, but everybody loved you because they're just like, that guy's something else, okay? So I went ahead and studied lecture 19, and I had the question. This is my question. Okay, this is my question. I'm studying CS. I'm studying CS, and now I'm in minor league baseball, and I haven't gotten promoted, so I'm working 2 jobs. What if I get fired? Good question, young Larry / Adam Crampton / Brandon Beck / Justin Moore / all the people that are studying computer science at Stanford University. Good question, Adam, okay? And also, Adam, can I just say, because I've been Googling you as you've been talking, we look like fucking twins. Do you play shortstop, by the way? Are you like 6'3", 6'4", play shortstop? You kind of want to bat leadoff, but then everyone's like, you're just going to be the 3-hole. And you're like, I hate hitting with dudes on base. Because if I only hit a double, I can't steal 2 bases like a fucking asshole. I love being an asshole on the bases. Adam, that's a great question. This is your answer for what happens if you get fired. You have plan B. Adam, okay. If you didn't start at shortstop at Stanford, okay, where would you play baseball at? You'd fucking play baseball at fucking third base, right? Because that's funny, because everyone's like, what? Would you go to Cal and play short? No. You would just play loser shortstop, which is third base or second base. You would still bat, but you wouldn't bat like leadoff. You would bat, in the 7-hole or 6 or some loser spot. The answer is you have a plan B. Hey, Adam, have you ever dated a girl, okay? And that girl was ugly and she fucked it up, and then your backup girl, okay, is hotter and cooler and is a model at Victoria's Secret. Have you ever done that before? Or at least have some kind of backup. Maybe your backup isn't a better backup, but you probably better have been loyal to your first thing, because then you can work the wait list. You can work the backup. So if you get fired, hey, congratulations, you fired me. But here's the other thing. If you get fired, you probably weren't doing a good job, and you probably didn't study lecture 19, CS 183E, which is, if you're making $200,000, okay, you better find $1 million problem. There's this one time, I mapped out a problem, okay, for a guy. Great, last name I think was McCullough. Anyway, I mapped out a genius plan for him, okay, genius. Like, we're not talking like Elon Musk genius, although he's pretty good, okay, gotta admit. He is somebody to watch, hands down. He's good at sales. He's decent at technology, not great, decent. I would say not good enough to get a PhD, but good enough to maybe get admitted had he had a prior body of work. And also genius, but not like Steve Kerr genius, okay? Even though Steve Kerr, okay, he's really good too. The way that he reverse trash talks, the way that he will double text you back, even though you're the one who's the stan, the super fan, the stan. But this is like Larry Chang level of genius, which is you want to absolutely solve that first problem, because Larry Chang helped you solve that problem. And getting to $1 billion involves getting to $50,000, getting to $200,000, okay, involves 50K. And as soon as you disconnect from Larry Chang's genius shit, okay, remember, this is not low-level Steve Kerr genius, okay, or Hunter Pence genius of going and signing up for the Dominican Republic as a pro. His second job, okay, was his job, which is also the layers of retire on the job. Because while I'm taking reps at short, okay, I can fucking ace third and second. And so when coaches will ask, they're like, fuck, Larry, we're so sorry, okay? We have a stud at short. By the way, do you play any second base or third? Because we could use you batting leadoff. So yeah, I fucking play second. Like, it's the easiest shit in the world, okay? It's shortstop with an hour longer in time when you're playing 4D chess. When I map out for you $50,000, people are like, Larry, you're so smart. You're the smartest person I've ever met. Why can't you map me out some stupid goal that they'll never get to? And it usually involves $1 million, okay? Some word with $1 million is basically blue pill loser talk, which is, I've really always wanted to be a millionaire. How about a Satoshi millionaire, okay? Why can't you scrape together $600 to have 1 million Satoshis? I think I'm gonna blow through that, Larry, because I've come up with a way to go from 0 to 1, which is why I hammer home that retard named Peter Thiel. A lot of people don't even know who Peter Thiel is, but they'll just be like, yeah, Peter Thiel's a retard. I'm like, no, Peter Thiel's not a retard to you. To you, Peter Thiel's Elon Musk. He's like an Easter bunny. Actually, he's not an Easter bunny. He's a fruity unicorn. Not that there's anything wrong with being a unicorn or fruity, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's, if you want to be fruity, like, be fruity. Hey, Danielle, I love that credit rules everything around me, because that's what I actually used to sell Bitcoin back in 2011, which is at a place called Cream. Cookies rule everything around me. We're talking about retiring on the job and still make 200K. I will hand you, just like I handed Elon and Peter, not Brady, not Steve Kerr, because different. That's initially what you get handed, okay? It's called a tranche. So when you're thinking about maybe answering the question of what happens when you get fired at 200K, because remember, the solution that Larry Chang came up with as a sports booster is this: work a CS job and have a long runway. Typically a runway is what? It's when your startup won't die because you ran out of runway. As soon as you run out of runway, your plane crashes into the ocean. That's what a runway is for a startup. It's the same thing for if you want to be a pro baseball player. Same exact thing. Which is this: if you worked a CS job, computer science job, and you got paid $200,000 because they're lowballing the shit out of you, you take that $200,000 and you keep getting better at it, and it takes you less time to do that same job. When people ask me what my job is, they get confused, because I've been doing my same job since sophomore year in college. I'm CEO of Duck9. If you couldn't Google that, like, and you can't figure out that I'm still working, like if you can't literally put not even 1 and 1 together, if you can't put 1 together, like you literally, putting 1 and 1 would actually be more complicated than, oh my God, Larry's still working his job from sophomore year in college. Look, that's his job, okay? And that's what he started sophomore year in college. That's his fucking job, okay? I've had my job since sophomore year in college. So I am retired on the job, which is why when a Stanford professor talks about retiring on the job, I could teach a fucking lecture for you. We're not friends, but we are mind melded, okay? We are Vulcan mind melded. What does Spock do when he puts his hand to your face, okay? What is that? All that is he has osmosis transferred all of the knowledge from your brain via books into his brain. That's also what Matt Damon did in his character from that Matt Damon movie that him and Ben Affleck got launched on, where he was really smart. All he'd do is just sit at the therapist session and then look at every book, and then he's read every book that you've read, so he knows how you're going to therapy him, right? That's what everyone does who reads a book. And so if you've never read a book before, I don't mean to laugh, okay? Because this is when losers who are blue-pilled say, audio book. And you're like, oh. Just say egalitarian at all costs, okay? Just say that. Just say there should be a speed limit on learning. That's really what people are going to come to the conclusion of, which is when this country restarts, is there needs to be a speed limit, not on the highway. You actually need people, I'm not going to say that morbid truth, speed learning. That's how to retire on the job, is you get really good where your 200K job, it used to be, just like if you're doing Insta delivery, okay? Or lift weights, okay? Once you're really good at it, you can actually make $50,000 a week doing Uber lead gen, because you could either do two things, and you might want to put pen to paper if this is the first time you've ever put pen to paper in a room with me, which is, let's say you're driving Uber, okay? I ride Uber a lot. I think to myself, how can I retire on the job as an Uber driver? Because I listen, okay? That Uber driver, they're in pain, okay? That food delivery person, they're in pain, okay? Why? Put pen and paper. Arbitraging time for money. You can't retire on the job when you're arbitraging time for money. It's not allowed. I mean, just impossible. There's only so many hours in a week, okay? There's only so many hours in a week. And pen and paper, you need to put down, do I want to arbitrage my time, or do I want to arbitrage the play call plays that Larry Chang drops? Right? Because if you're driving for DoorDash, you don't realize that you can make $650 per new DoorDash person. Full disclosure, I'm a mentor to DoorDash and a cohort mentor to Travis and Garrett, who started Uber, and mentor to Ryan Graves, who's the first CEO of Uber, who's also David Rorsheim, who's the Uber Australia country manager. Technically, when David Rorsheim is the country manager, he should actually be the continent manager, which would fuck up Uber's system, because then you'd have to have a North American continent manager, but I digress. But while I digressed, I also established credibility that DoorDash, Stanley Tang, you should make $650 per DoorDash driver. You can't make enough money door dashing from door to door, okay? You can make that money doing Lecture 8 when Stanley Tang spoke at DoorDash, or spoke at Sam Altman's class, which is also the header profile on my fucking Twitter, okay? I put Easter eggs literally everywhere, and losers just like, I can't wait for the next time that you talk on Clubhouse, because you're just so good. You're just so good. You're so good at Clubhouse. Like, why don't we next, when we connect on Clubhouse, why don't you tell me about the $50,000 in money that I gave you? And then maybe fucking say thank you. Like, and then people are like, is that your business model? Are you a wealth manager where I make 50 and then I give you $6? Like, no, I'm not a wealth manager, okay? I'm a masochist who gives out $60,000. And then some people end up making $170 million, okay? And then they defriend me on Facebook. It's happened more than once, but sometimes I'll get a thank you gift, and then sometimes the best thank you is when I roll into a party. I'm gonna cry right now. Was when I roll into a party and then they say, "This is Larry Chang. He helped me with my first $50 million, and he's the best motherfucker ever." And then I'm like, shucks. Did I tell you that I learned this recipe from my mentor, Mark McCormack? Play call plays. And I'm like, thank you. And then some woman wants to fuck me because I'm very fuckable. And it's not politically incorrect to say, because it shouldn't be bad that I'm a heterosexual and I like vagina, right? I mean, but I will take that coupon, okay, and say, you seem very nice also and very hot, and I like your energy, and I swear I will fuck you. But can we fuck later? Because I'd like to say hi to my friends here at the Silicon Valley party, and also, like, not to bait and switch you, we'll hang out all night after this party, but can we not fuck for at least maybe a couple of weeks? Because I kind of like to get to know you before I fuck you. But I mean, just to let you know, you can totally blow me later. That's what I do it for, okay? That's what I do it for. The giggles and the poops, okay? The giggles and the poops. How did I get there? Retire on the job by first retiring on the job with my side hustle when I was actually playing baseball. So it's at scale, okay? We're talking about scale here. So when I was in college and everybody else is in college, they're in college baseball, okay? And they're also having to study engineering. What people don't realize is that they're semi-retired on the job right now. They're just not very good at it, and they're not getting paid. All this is being a student athlete. This is why I know famous fuckers, okay, that are student athletes. People are like, do you really know, like, Baron Davis? Do you really know him? Are you friends with him? Or when you talk at a party and you interview him, or you do an interview, have you known him his whole life? Did you go to UCLA with Baron Davis? No, I went to the fucking University of Illinois, you lazy Googler. You get on DuckDuckGo, seriously, and type in Larry Chang, retired on the job. Because me having to walk you through this, it's painful. But I do it for the loves. And when you see me in Miami, I want you to say, there's Larry Chang. He paid for my trip, okay? I can't pay for your trip just by giving you $8,000, because you would probably just do drugs with it. Or worse, you would buy some shit stock like GameStop, because like, oh, I read it on your bio. You bought GameStop, and I feel like I could do the stuff that you did later in life without doing the stuff that you did first in life. Can you walk me through how to be a VC? Because I kind of want to take care of my family, and I want to take care of me. How about you do your job, okay? And be a student athlete, which is why it helps if you are a student athlete, which brings me back to the topic of the room, which is, how do you retire on the job? You do what a student athlete did, or you do whatever you did before you retired on the job. And let's reverse engineer. So in a box, put reverse engineer. Okay? Put reverse engineer. Doing two things at the same time. I didn't say do 17 things at the same time. I'm saying do two things at the same time. But before you do two things at the same time, you know what I'm going to say, reverse engineer. You're going to have to do one thing at a time. Maybe I'm not important enough to solo task, okay? Maybe you think 5 million people should be in my room. Maybe you think too much versus just focusing on one thing and delegating pattern recognition to my mentor, Mark McCormack. Sound familiar? Sound like a broken record? PRPRPI. Pattern recognition, pattern replication, pattern iteration. I give full rights for you to record this conversation because I think that your notes might suck. Doing two things at one time involves doing one thing well at a time. What happens if you get fired though from a 200K job? Well, then you literally go back a step. If I get fired from shortstop, I'm playing third base. If I get fired from third base, I'm probably going to play second base. And then if I get fired from there, then I will happily ride the bench until the starting shortstop goes into pitch, okay? Or the starting shortstop, he can't hit, okay? I can pinch hit. And I may not pinch hit, but I'll pinch hit for somebody because I've been paying attention to this pitcher. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you just take a step back and that's fine. It's fine you take a step back. That is your new base camp. It's lower, but it's still a base camp. The key is you have to save your money. If you have a voracious spending appetite, you will lose. You absolutely will lose. It's just, that's not, and then people then say, oh, but I need to spend that money. Well, in thermodynamics, some people freeze to death because there isn't enough heat. And that's just the 3 laws of thermo. That's a law of money. That's why I'm so good with money, is because I'm like, hey, money, there are rules to it. The 3 laws of thermodynamics. Oh, I think I can ace this money stuff because all it is thermodynamics. And then when I tell people how I do retire on the job, people are like, but I don't want to study thermo. Can you just tell me the one thing? I know there's 3 laws. Can you just boil it down, pun intended? Boil it down, get it? It's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you boil away all the water. It took heat, boiling it down. That was pretty good, right? Can you boil it down for me? Yeah. I boiled it down already for you. You want to make it more simpler? That's blue pill. That is blue pill. I can't boil it down anymore. It's as simple as it is, no simpler. I didn't say that. Albert Einstein said that. Albert Einstein didn't do physics right away. Initially, he did accounting and lead generation.